The red sun of Cathara Prime was setting behind the mountains when they dragged her out of the hive. Queen Salith did not fight back. She did not scream or beg for mercy. She had known this day would come for a long time. 3 breeding cycles had passed, and her body had failed to produce a single egg. Among the Valdres people, a queen who could not create new life was worth less than the dirt beneath their feet. The warrior drones who carried her were not gentle. Their hard claws dug into her silver carapace as they pulled her through the tunnels she had once ruled. Other Valdres watched from the shadows. Some looked away in shame. Others stared with cold eyes that held no pity. Salith had been their hope once. Now she was nothing but a reminder of failure. High Commander Vrethus walked ahead of them. He was the largest drone in the hive, with armor as black as the void between stars. He had served Salith loyally for many years. Now he was the one who had ordered her removal. That was the Valdres way. Loyalty meant nothing when resources were at stake. A queen who could not breed was just another mouth to feed. They reached the great gate of the hive as the last. Light faded from the sky. Beyond the gate lay the wastelands, a barren stretch of rock and dust where nothing grew. It was a place of exile, a place of death. Vrethus turned to face her one final time. His compound eyes showed no emotion. "You are no longer Valdres," he said. His voice was flat and cold. "You have no name. You have no hive. You will walk into the waste, and you will not return. This is the law." Salith wanted to speak. She wanted to remind him of all the years she had served the hive faithfully. She wanted to tell him that her mind still worked, that she could still contribute in other ways. But she knew it would change nothing. The Valdres did not value minds. They valued bodies that could produce workers, warriors, and future queens. Hers could not, so she said nothing. She simply walked through the gate and into the darkness beyond. The first night was the hardest. The temperature dropped quickly on Cathara Prime, and Salith had no shelter. She found a small cave in the rocks and curled up inside, wrapping her torn wings around herself for warmth. They had damaged her wings on purpose before casting her out. A queen who could fly might try to find another hive. They wanted to make sure she had no options. She did not sleep. She lay there in the cold darkness and thought about her life. She remembered being born in the royal chamber, surrounded by attendants who had treated her like a precious gem. She remembered her first flight, soaring above the hive with the wind beneath her wings. She remembered the day she had taken her place as queen, full of hope and pride. And she remembered the growing horror as cycle after cycle passed with no eggs. The doctors had examined her countless times. They had tried every treatment known to Valdres science. Nothing worked. Her body simply could not do what it was supposed to do. Now here she was, alone in the waste, waiting to die. 3 days passed. Salith grew weaker with each one. She found small pools of bitter water to drink, but there was no food in the wastelands. Her silver carapace began to lose its shine. Her movements became slow and painful. She knew she did not have much time left. On the 4th day, she collapsed near a ridge of broken stones. She could not get up again. Her body had finally given out. She lay there under the red sky, watching strange clouds drift overhead, and felt a curious peace settle over her. At least the suffering would end soon. That was when she heard the sound. It was unlike anything she had ever heard before. A deep humming noise that grew louder and louder until it filled the air around her. Salith forced her eyes open and saw something impossible. A ship was descending from the sky, but it was not a Valdres ship. It was shaped wrong, made of smooth white metal that gleamed in the sunlight. The ship landed nearby, and a door opened in its side. A figure stepped out. Salith stared. The creature walking toward her was like nothing she had ever seen. It had no carapace, no antenna, no compound eyes. Its skin was soft and pale, and it had strange fur on the top of its head. It walked on 2 legs and had 2 arms that ended in flat digits instead of claws. The creature knelt beside her. It made sounds with its mouth, soft and gentle sounds that she could not understand. But there was something in its tone that made her feel strange. It sounded like concern, like care. The creature reached out and touched her face with its soft digits. The touch was warm and surprisingly gentle. Salith flinched at first, expecting pain. But there was no pain. Only warmth. More sounds came from the creature's mouth. It seemed to be speaking to something on its wrist. Then it carefully slid its arms beneath Salith's body and lifted her up. She was too weak to resist, too weak to do anything but let this strange being carry her toward the white ship. Inside the ship, there were more of these creatures. They gathered around her, making concerned sounds. One of them, a female with long dark fur on her head, seemed to be giving orders. Others brought out strange tools and devices that beeped and flashed with lights. The creature who had found her stayed by her side. He spoke to her constantly, even though she could not understand a single word. His voice was calm and soothing. His eyes, which were round and had colored centers instead of being compound like hers, looked at her with something she had not seen in a very long time. Kindness. They gave her something to drink. It was sweet and warm and made her feel stronger almost immediately. They cleaned her wounds and applied medicine that took away the pain. They wrapped her torn wings in soft bandages and laid her on a comfortable surface to rest. Salith did not understand what was happening. She did not know who these creatures were or why they were helping her. Among the Valdris, no one helped the weak. The weak were left to die so the strong could thrive. But these beings were different. They had found a dying stranger in the waste, someone who was not of their kind, someone who had nothing to offer them. And they had saved her anyway. As she drifted into the first peaceful sleep she had known in months, Salith felt something stir in her chest. It was small and fragile, barely alive. But it was there. Hope. And the strange creature with the soft skin and kind eyes stayed beside her all through the night, watching over her like she was something precious, like she was something worth saving. She did not know his name yet. She did not know anything about him or his people. But in that moment, lying safe and warm in an alien ship while a stranger guarded her sleep, Salith made a silent promise to herself. She would learn. She would understand. And maybe, just maybe, she would find out why this creature looked at her like she mattered. Salith woke up in a room filled with soft light. For a moment, she did not know where she was. Then the memories came flooding back. The exile, the wasteland, the strange creature who had carried her to safety. She tried to sit up and found that her body felt stronger than it had in days. The bandages on her wings were clean and white. Someone had been taking care of her while she slept. The door to the room slid open, and the creature who had found her walked in. He was carrying a tray with containers on it. When he saw that she was awake, his face changed in a way she did not understand. The corners of his mouth curved upward, and his eyes became warmer. Later, she would learn that this expression was called a smile. He set the tray down beside her and pointed to himself. "Daniel," he said slowly. "My name is Daniel." Salith watched him carefully. She understood that he was telling her what to call him. She tried to repeat the sound, but her mouth was not made for human words. What came out was more like Daniel. But Daniel did not seem upset by her poor pronunciation. His smile grew wider, and he nodded his head up and down. Then he pointed at her and raised his eyebrows in a questioning way. "Salith," she said. Her own name was easier to speak. "Salith," Daniel repeated. He said it wrong, but he said it with such care that she did not mind. Over the next several days, Salith learned many things about these creatures. They called themselves humans, and they came from a planet very far away called Earth. The ship she was on was called the Starlight Wanderer, and its purpose was to explore new parts of space and study what they found. There were 23 humans on board, and they had been traveling together for almost 2 years. The leader of the ship was a woman named Captain Megan Price. She came to visit Salith on the 3rd day. The captain was tall and strong, with short gray hair and eyes that seemed to look right through you. She did not smile like Daniel did, but she was not cruel either. She simply studied Salith for a long moment, then nodded once and said something to Daniel before leaving. Daniel explained later, using simple gestures and pictures on a small device, that the captain had given permission for Salith to stay. But there was a condition. Salith had 2 weeks to show that she was not a danger to the crew. If she caused trouble, they would return her to her planet. Salith understood. She was a guest, not a member of this group. She would have to prove herself worthy of their help. Daniel took on the task of caring for her. He was a scientist. She learned someone who studied life forms from different worlds. To him, Salith was fascinating. He spent hours with her, learning how she communicated, what she could eat, what made her comfortable or uncomfortable. The Valdris spoke through a mix of sounds, pheromones, and antenna movements. Daniel could not smell pheromones or move antennae, so he built a small device that could translate her basic signals into human words. It was not perfect. Many concepts did not translate well, but it was enough. The first real conversation they had changed everything. Salith had been on the ship for 1 week. She was sitting in the medical bay, looking out a window at the stars, when Daniel came to check on her. He asked her how she was feeling. She told him she was better. Then, after a long pause, she asked the question that had been burning inside her since the moment he found her. "Why did you help me?" Daniel looked confused. "What do you mean?" "I was dying. I am not your kind. I have nothing to give you. Among my people, we do not help those who cannot give something back. It is waste. It is foolish." She paused, struggling to find the right words. "I am broken. My body cannot do what a queen's body must do. I am worthless." "Why would you save something worthless?" Daniel was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was soft and serious. "Where I come from, we believe that every person has value, not because of what they can do or what they can give, just because they exist, just because they are alive." Salith did not understand. "That makes no sense. How can something have value if it produces nothing?" "Because value is not the same as usefulness," Daniel said. He sat down beside her and thought for a moment, choosing his words carefully. "On Earth, we have people who are old or sick or different in some way. They cannot work. They cannot have children. Some people think they are useless. But we also have people who take care of them, who love them, who fight to protect them. Because we believe that being alive is enough. You do not have to earn the right to exist." Salith stared at him. These ideas were so strange, so foreign to everything she had ever known. The Valdris hive was built on usefulness. Every member had a role. Those who could not fill their role were removed. It was efficient. It was logical. It was the only way she had ever known. But it had also been the thing that destroyed her. "Your people," she said slowly, "they would not cast me out? Even though I cannot breed?" "No," Daniel said firmly. "Never." Something cracked inside Salith's chest. It was not painful. It was more like a wall breaking down, a wall she had built around herself to survive the shame and rejection of her own kind. Behind that wall were feelings she had buried long ago. Sadness, loneliness, a desperate need to be accepted. Her eyes, which could not produce tears the way human eyes did, began to leak a thin silver fluid. It was a stress response, a sign of extreme emotion that the Valdress usually suppressed. She had not cried like this since she was very young. Daniel did not pull away. He did not look disgusted or uncomfortable. He simply reached out and took her claw in his soft hand, holding it gently. "You are not worthless," he said. "You are not broken. You are just different. And different is not bad." Salith could not speak. She could only sit there, holding this strange creature's hand, feeling something she had never felt before. It took her a long time to find the word for it. Safety. For the first time in her life, she felt truly safe. The 2 weeks passed quickly. The captain came to visit again at the end of the trial period. She looked at Salith, then at Daniel, then back at Salith. She asked a few questions through the translator. Salith answered honestly. She told the captain that she had nowhere to go. She told her that she would do anything to stay, to be useful in whatever way she could. Captain Price was silent for a moment. Then she did something unexpected. She smiled. "Welcome aboard," she said. "Let us see what you can do." And just like that, Salith was no longer a guest. She was part of the crew. She had found something she never thought she would have again. She had found a home. 3 months had passed since Salith joined the crew of the Starlight Wanderer. In that time, she had learned more about humans than she ever thought possible. And the more she learned, the more amazed she became. Humans were such strange creatures. They did things that made no logical sense to a Valdress mind. They ate meals together even when they were not hungry, just to talk and share time. They told stories that were not true, something they called fiction, simply for entertainment. They kept small animals on the ship, creatures called pets, that did no work at all. They were loved anyway. At first, Salith watched these behaviors from a distance, confused and curious. The Valdress did not waste time on things that had no purpose. Every action had to serve the hive. Every moment had to be productive. But humans seemed to believe that some things had value simply because they brought joy. And slowly, carefully, Salith began to understand what that meant. Daniel was her constant companion in those early months. He taught her how to read human writing and how to speak basic words out loud. Her voice was strange, clicking and buzzing in ways that were hard for humans to understand. But she practiced every day, and soon she could make herself understood well enough to have simple conversations. The crew began to warm to her. Ryan Lopez, the chief engineer, was the first after Daniel to seek her out. He was a large man with thick arms and a loud laugh. He found Salith in the common room one evening and put a deck of cards on the table in front of her. "You ever play poker?" he asked. Salith did not know what poker was. But Ryan taught her, patiently explaining the rules and showing her how to hold the cards with her claws. She was terrible at first. Her face could not make the expressions needed to bluff, and her antenna movements gave away her emotions. But Ryan did not seem to care that she lost every hand. He just kept laughing and dealing more cards. "It is not about winning," he told her one night. "It is about having fun with friends." Friends. That was another human concept that took Salith a long time to understand. The Valdress had allies and servants and rivals, but they did not have friends. Friendship implied a bond that was not based on usefulness or rank. It was something freely given, with no expectation of return. Daniel was her friend. Ryan was becoming one. And others followed. Dr. Katie Simmons was the ship's medical officer. She was a small woman with bright red hair and a gentle way of speaking. She took a special interest in Salith's health, running tests and scans to learn more about Valdress biology. Through these sessions, they grew close. Katie told Salith about her family back on Earth, about her sisters and her mother who had passed away years ago. Salith did not fully understand all of it, but she listened carefully and asked questions. "Do you miss them?" she asked one day. "Your family?" Katie nodded. every day, but I carry them with me in my heart. That is what love does. It stays with you, even when the people you love are far away. Ben Harper was the ship's navigator. He was young and eager, always excited about new discoveries. He showed Salith how to read human star charts and taught her the names humans gave to different regions of space. In return, Salith shared what she knew about Valdris astronomy. Her people had mapped the stars for thousands of years. She knew routes and systems that were not on any human chart. Ben was delighted. He spent hours with her, combining their knowledge into new maps that showed paths neither species had traveled alone. It was the first time Salith realized that she had something valuable to offer, something beyond breeding, her mind, her knowledge, her experiences. Among the Valdris, these things had meant nothing because she was infertile. But among humans, they meant everything. One evening, Daniel invited Salith to the observation deck. It was a special room at the front of the ship, with large windows that looked out into space. He brought a device that played sounds, something he called music. Salith had heard music before, in passing, but she had never really listened to it. Daniel chose a piece that was soft and slow, with instruments that rose and fell like waves. As the music filled the room, something strange happened inside Salith. Her body began to relax. Her antennae, which were usually held stiff and alert, softened and swayed gently. A feeling spread through her that she could not name. It was warm and peaceful and somehow sad all at once. "What is this feeling?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Daniel smiled. "I think it is called beauty. When something touches your heart without words." Salith sat in the darkness, surrounded by music and stars, and felt tears leak from her eyes again. But this time, they were not tears of pain. They were something else entirely. After the music ended, Daniel showed her recordings of Earth. He showed her the oceans, vast bodies of water that stretched from horizon to horizon. He showed her forests and mountains and cities that sparkled with light. He showed her animals of every shape and size, swimming and flying and running across the land. Salith watched in wonder. Her own world was harsh and barren, a place of rock and dust and endless struggle. She had never imagined that a planet could be so alive, so full of color and movement. "It is beautiful," she said. "Your home." "It has its problems," Daniel admitted. "Humans are not perfect. We have wars and hatred and cruelty, just like any other species. But we also have kindness. We have art and music and love. We try to be better, even when we fail." Salith thought about this for a long time. The Valdris did not try to be better. They simply were what they were. The strong survived, and the weak perished. There was no concept of growth or change or hope for something different. But humans believed they could change. They believed they could improve. And that belief drove them to create beautiful things, to explore unknown spaces, to reach out to a dying alien queen and say, "You matter." In that moment, sitting beside Daniel on the observation deck, Salith made a decision. She would not just survive among these humans. She would learn from them. She would become part of their world, truly and completely. She would become their friend, their ally, their family, and she would show them that they had not made a mistake in saving her. "Daniel," she said quietly, "thank you." He looked at her, surprised. "For what?" "For showing me that I am more than what my body can do. For teaching me that worth comes from the heart, not from usefulness. For giving me a reason to live." Daniel reached out and took her claw in his hand, just as he had done that first day when she cried. His skin was warm and soft against her hard shell. "You have taught me things too," he said. "About courage. About surviving when everything seems lost. About finding hope in the darkest places." They sat together in silence, watching the stars drift past. Two beings from different worlds who had found something precious in each other. Friendship, trust, love, not romantic love. Not yet, but something just as powerful. The love that grows when two souls recognize each other across an impossible distance and say, I see you. I value you. You are not alone. And for Salith, that was more than enough. The alarm woke everyone at once. It was a sharp screaming sound that cut through the silence of the sleeping ship like a blade. Red lights flashed in the corridors as crew members rushed to their stations, pulling on clothes and wiping sleep from their eyes. Salith felt the fear before she understood the reason. Something deep in her Valdris instincts told her that danger was coming. Danger she knew. She made her way to the bridge as fast as her legs could carry her. When the doors slid open, she saw the entire command crew already there. Captain Price stood at the center, her face hard and focused. Daniel was at his station, fingers flying over controls. Ben Harper stared at the navigation screen with wide eyes, and on the main view screen, locking out the stars, was a ship Salith knew all too well. It was a Valdris warship. Massive and dark, covered in the same black armor that their warrior drones wore. It was 5 times the size of the Starlight Wanderer, bristling with weapons that could tear the human vessel apart in seconds. They found us, Salith whispered. Her voice was barely audible. They found me. Captain Price glanced at her but said nothing. She turned back to the screen as a communication channel opened with a burst of static. The face that appeared was one Salith had hoped never to see again. High Commander Vrethis, the same drone who had cast her into the wasteland to die. His compound eyes gleamed with cold authority. His mandibles clicked as he spoke. Human vessel, you have taken property that belongs to the Valdris Collective. The creature you call Salith is an exile and a criminal. She has no right to exist among other species. Return her immediately, or face the consequences. Captain Price did not flinch. This is Captain Megan Price of the exploration vessel Starlight Wanderer. The individual you are referring to is a guest aboard my ship. She has committed no crime against humans. We have no obligation to hand her over. Vrethis made a sound that might have been laughter. Guest? She is not capable of being a guest. She is property. Broken property that was disposed of according to our laws. The fact that she still lives is an insult to the collective. You will return her, or we will take her by force. Salith's legs trembled. She wanted to run, to hide, to disappear into the walls of the ship. All the old shame and fear came rushing back. She was worthless. She was broken. She had brought danger to the only people who had ever shown her kindness. She took a step forward. Captain Price, perhaps it would be best if I went with them. I do not want anyone to be hurt because of me. Daniel spun around in his chair. No, he said. The word was sharp and final. Absolutely not. But they will destroy the ship. They will kill everyone. I cannot let that happen. I am not worth that many lives. Daniel stood up and walked toward her. His face was fierce with an emotion she had never seen in him before. It was not anger, not exactly. It was something deeper, something protective. You are worth it, he said. You are worth every risk. And we are not going to let them take you. He turned to face Captain Price. Captain, request permission to speak freely. Price nodded. This is a first contact situation, Daniel said. The Valdris do not know humans. They expect us to be weak, to give in to threats. If we hand Salith over now, we tell them that humans can be bullied. We tell every species watching that we do not protect our own. Salith is not human, Price pointed out, though her voice held no judgment. No, she is not. But she is with us. She is part of this crew. And we do not abandon our crew. The bridge was silent. Every eye was on Captain Price. She stood perfectly still, her gaze moving from the view screen to Salith to Daniel and back again. Seconds stretched into eternity. Then she smiled. It was a small smile, barely visible, but it was there. "You heard my officer," she said, turning back to face Rethus on the screen. "Queen Salith has requested asylum with the human delegation. Under interstellar conventions, we are obligated to protect those who seek refuge with us. If you have a problem with that, you can file a formal complaint with Earth's diplomatic corps." Rethus's eyes blazed with fury. "You dare to defy the collective? We will crush your tiny ship. We will destroy you all and take what is ours." "You can try," Price said calmly. "But I should warn you, humans do not surrender easily. We have been fighting wars since before your species climbed out of whatever hole you were born in. Our ship may be smaller, but we are not defenseless. And even if you destroy us, Earth will know what happened here. They will come for you. They will find your homeworld. And they will make you regret this day for generations." She leaned forward, her eyes locked on the view screen. "So ask yourself, Commander, is one broken queen worth starting a war with humanity?" The standoff lasted for 3 hours. 3 hours of tension so thick that Salith could barely breathe. The Valdra ship hung in space, weapons powered, ready to strike. The Starlight Wanderer held its position, shields raised. Crew at battle stations. Daniel stayed by Salith's side the entire time. He did not speak much. He did not need to. His presence was enough. Every now and then, he would reach out and touch her arm gently, reminding her that she was not alone. The other crew members looked at her differently now. Not with fear or suspicion, but with determination. They were willing to fight for her. They were willing to die for her. It was a concept so foreign to everything Salith had ever known that she could not fully process it. Finally, after 3 hours that felt like 3 years, the Valdra ship began to move. It turned slowly, ponderously, and started to drift away. One last message came through before it left. "You have chosen your side, humans," Rethus said. "The creature you protect is dead to us now. She is erased from our records, wiped from our history. She no longer exists in the eyes of the collective. May she bring you nothing but suffering." The channel closed. The warship jumped to faster-than-light speed and vanished into the void. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Captain Price let out a breath she had been holding for what seemed like forever. "Stand down from battle stations," she said. "Resume normal operations." The crew began to move, talking in quiet voices, releasing the tension that had built up over hours. But Salith stood frozen, staring at the empty space where the Valdra ship had been docked. It was over. She was truly alone now, cut off from her people forever. She would never see Kethra Prime again. She would never walk the tunnels of her birth hive, never feel the familiar scent of her own kind around her. She should have felt grief. She should have felt loss. But as Daniel put his arm around her shoulders and guided her off the bridge, Salith realized she felt something completely different. She felt free. Free from the expectations that had crushed her. Free from the shame of being different. Free from a society that valued only what she could produce, not who she was. The Valdris had erased her from their history, but the humans had written her into theirs, and that, Salith decided, was more than enough. 1 year had passed since the confrontation with the Valdris warship. In that time, Salith's life had changed in ways she never could have imagined. The Starlight Wanderer had completed its mission and returned to human space. When they arrived at Orbital Station Harmony, the largest human outpost in the sector, Salith had expected to be treated as a curiosity, an alien oddity to be studied and observed. She was wrong. Word of what had happened near Kethra Prime had spread through human communications. The story of a dying queen rescued by a kind scientist. The story of a ship that refused to surrender one of its own. The story of humans standing against a warship to protect someone who was not even their species. People wanted to meet her. Diplomats and scientists and ordinary citizens lined up to shake her claw and hear her speak. News agencies requested interviews. Universities invited her to lecture. Governments asked for her expertise on Valdris culture and technology. Saelith was overwhelmed at first. She had spent her whole life being told she was worthless. Now suddenly, she was valued. She was wanted. She was important. Daniel helped her adjust. He stayed by her side through those first chaotic weeks, guiding her through the maze of human politics and society. He translated when her words failed her. He protected her when the attention became too much. He reminded her, again and again, that she had earned this respect through her own actions and qualities. "They do not care that you cannot lay eggs," he told her one night, as they sat together on the observation deck of the station. "They care that you survived. They care that you chose to share your knowledge instead of hiding in fear. They care that you are brave and kind and brilliant." Saelith looked at him, this human who had changed her life completely. "I do not feel brave," she admitted. "Most of the time, I feel scared." Daniel smiled. "That is what bravery is. Being scared and doing the right thing anyway." As the months passed, Saelith found her place in human society. She became an advisor to the Earth Diplomatic Corps, helping them understand the Valdris Collective and other hive-based species. Her knowledge of Valdris psychology and social structures proved invaluable. She helped prevent 2 border conflicts by explaining what certain Valdris actions really meant, things that humans had misunderstood as threats. She wrote a book about her experiences. It took her almost a year to complete, working with a human writer who helped translate her thoughts into words that humans could easily understand. The book was called The Worth of Being, and it told the story of a broken queen who found value among strangers. It became required reading in schools across a dozen human colonies. Students wrote to her, sharing their own stories of feeling worthless and finding hope. Teachers told her that her words had changed lives, had helped young people understand that their value did not depend on what they could produce. Saelith cried when she read those letters. Good tears this time. Tears of joy. The crew of the Starlight Wanderer remained her family. Captain Price retired from active service and took a position at the Diplomatic Corps headquarters, where she and Saelith often worked together. Ryan Lopez transferred to the station's engineering department and still invited Saelith to play poker every week. Katie Simmons opened a clinic that specialized in treating non-human species, using everything she had learned from caring for Saelith. Ben Harper led a new expedition to map the routes Saelith had shown him, opening up trade lanes that benefited both humans and friendly alien species. And Daniel? Daniel stayed. He had offers to work at prestigious research facilities on Earth and other major worlds. He could have advanced his career, made a name for himself, become famous in his field. But he turned them all down. Why? Saelith asked him once. "You could have so much more if you went somewhere important." Daniel laughed. "I am somewhere important. I am wherever you are." She did not fully understand what he meant at first. But over time, she began to realize that their bond had grown into something deeper than friendship. Something that humans called love. It was different from the breeding bonds of the Valdris. Those were practical arrangements designed to produce healthy offspring. This was something else entirely. It was wanting to be near someone just because being near them made you happy. It was caring about their joy more than your own. It was looking at someone and knowing that your life was better because they were in it. One evening, exactly 1 year after the standoff with the Valdris warship, Saelith stood on the observation deck of Orbital Station Harmony. Through the great windows, she could see Earth turning slowly in the distance. The planet was even more beautiful in person than it had been in Daniel's recordings. Blue oceans and white clouds and green patches of land that glowed in the sunlight. Daniel found her there, as she knew he would. He was carrying 2 cups of the warm drink humans called tea. It had become their ritual, these quiet moments together at the end of the day. Thinking deep thoughts? He asked, handing her a cup. Salith wrapped her claws around the warm container and breathed in the steam. "I was thinking about the day you found me," she said. "I was lying in the dirt, waiting to die. I believed I had no value. I believed I deserved to be thrown away. And now?" She turned to look at him. His face was the same as it had always been. Kind eyes, gentle smile, a warmth that reached out to everyone around him. "Now I know the truth," she said. "Value does not come from what you can produce. It comes from who you are. It comes from how you treat others. It comes from the love you give and the love you receive." Daniel reached out and took her claw in his hand. His skin was still soft and warm, just as it had been on that first day. "You taught me that," Salith continued. "You looked at a dying queen and saw something worth saving. You treated me like a treasure when everyone else saw only trash. You showed me that the universe could be kind. You showed me things too," Daniel said quietly. "You showed me that courage can come from the most unexpected places. That hope can survive anything. That 2 people from different worlds can find something beautiful together." They stood in silence, watching Earth turn below them, watching the stars wheel past in the endless void. "I am happy," Salith said finally. The words felt strange in her mouth, strange and wonderful and true. "For the first time in my life, I am truly happy." Daniel squeezed her claw gently. "So am I." And in that moment, surrounded by stars and warmth and love, Salith understood the most important lesson of all. Home was not a hive or a planet or a place. Home was wherever you were loved for who you were, not for what you could do. Home was wherever someone treated you like a treasure. She had lost everything when the Valdris threw her into the wasteland. Her title, her people, her purpose. But she had found something so much better. She had found humanity, and they had found her.